You're listening to a 4x4 Radio Network podcast.
Hey Jeebles, welcome to another episode of On the Trail with Kevin and Scott. I'm Kevin, the engineer, the guy that typically reads the instructions, uses the right tools, and follows them.
And I'm Scott. I'm the slapstick parts guy that doesn't read instructions, constantly yells, Kevin, I broke it, some more, please help. Abracapocus.
Yeah, I just got an email from that literally as I was outside walking to get some the memory chips. Hey folks, we got a very special show. You might hear it in the audio for those of you that are listening, and those that can see the videos on our Patreon page. You'll definitely see this is not our usual studio. So You're hearing a little echo. That's because we're in a workshop of a very good friend of the show. I'll let you do the introduction, Scott.
That's M-A-R-C, Mark, with a C, because it might get confusing for those of you who have the flow chart at home. We're at the Tampa Jeep Lab. Mark, I say hi, good morning.
Hey, guys.
Hey, and thank you very much for hosting this very special event. We really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anytime.
But we also have, as promised, a very special couple of guests here from Wranglerfix.com. Hey. And again, would you...
Oh, yeah, there's Mark, this time with a K. Ooh, can I call you Special K?
Oh, God.
Oh, I'm showing, my 80s is showing with breakdance.
Ketamine or...
And you're
Andrew,
in
right?
trouble,
Yes,
Scott. I think we've met your match.
Oh, man, the conversations we've had, oh, my goodness. And Andrew, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, good morning, Andrew.
And as we mentioned in the last show, these guys have come up with a replacement PCM for the 05-06 TJ issues, those of us who have shift problems, O2 sensor lights, and all those other fun things. So go ahead.
Well, before we get too much, remember, this is show 86, and I also want to give two special thanks to Ed Martin and our newest Patreons, Mark and Jared Rollins. Thank you very much for your patronage, guys. We really appreciate it.
Yep. So, deep breath.
Wait, if I deep breath like that, people wonder if I just didn't fart. On that note,
I can still breathe, so he didn't, obviously.
No one's dead. We're good. Mark's never going to let us come back now. You know that, right?
No.
Okay.
Mark.
So, Mark with a K.
Mark with a K.
And Andrew, why don't you guys tell us a little bit about how you guys got started, the business, where you're from, that kind of stuff. Not to throw you on the spot, but hi, welcome to the limelight.
Hi. Hello, Wrangler world. First of all, thank you all, Mark, Kevin, Scott, for having us. We greatly appreciate it. Okay, we're both from South Florida. We went out and purchased an 05 Wrangler with a good working PCM,
right?
Which the OEM PCM is by Huntsville.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we opened it up. It cost us about $2,500 at the time, and found out which OEM part most mimics the 05-06 TJ.
Right.
With the Huntsville PCM, once the problems start from the hard shift to tranny temperature overheating, all of the codes, it's basically like trying to repair Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah.
There is no repairing this PCM.
So once it fails, it just starts going downhill.
Yeah.
There were a couple of issues originally that were quote unquote repairable that quickly came back, and it just became a nightmare.
So if you can, without confidential information, is it a chip failure or a hardwiring failure, or what is the actual failure mode, or is it a programming issue?
It all comes back down to where it's usually a hardware issue.
It
comes down to a usually electrical problem in the Jeep itself.
So that's something for the listeners out there to be aware of. This isn't something that a simple reflash will fix.
Right.
No.
That's the first thing a customer thinks is, I just want to go ahead and reflash my computer.
Right. And folks, this is like your home computer. If you got a bad memory chip, guess what? You either replace that or you're SOL. So that's an important differentiator there. So that's really cool. So sorry to cut in, but I know that I've got my group of listeners that are tech.
Yeah, and I got my group of listeners that are fart check, zip tie. So,
don't leave out duct tape.
Exactly.
Well, I can't get too technical.
No, I don't want you to give away any of your proprietary secrets. I was just trying to get the idea that it's not a easily fixed item.
You know, if it were a repairable item, if it truly were a repairable item, the five of us would not be sitting here right now.
Yeah. There's a lot of companies out there that do the reflash repair, but I personally, just for a little history for you for the show, I went through this about 2 years ago. My 05 went out, and it didn't completely die. It just, when it was cold, it wouldn't shift. And the O2 sensors all popped on. It's amazing. I put new ones in, and they failed immediately. And all the fun things that go along with ECM. And then I began the hunt. Yeah. And I sent my PCM off for reprogramming. And the first one never even came back. So I'm sitting there going, you only paid $2,500 for your first one? Wow. How'd you get it so cheap? I kept digging, and pure happenstance, my local pick and pull yard ended up with a Jeep with the PCM, and I went ahead, and they're willing to allow me to purchase it, and if it didn't work, bring it back. So I took it home. It fired up. Of course, I got the error codes because it was not actually coded into the Jeep, but that was okay. Then I sent that back to a different company for flashing, and so far, cross my fingers, it's worked. So I'm very familiar with this issue.
So to rewind a little bit, so you guys bought the. So what got you started in the Jeep computer industry? You just happen chance. You started working with other vehicles and then gradually worked into the Wrangler lifestyle, or?
We actually both worked for a very large ECM company in South Florida and cut our teeth on ECMs and PCMs, from caravans to my specialty was Cummins Power Stroke and Duramax, from the original 12 valve all the way up to the Common Rail 6.7s, all the way through the 2019s. We can work on those. Okay. I became aware of the 0506 TJ problem just from getting phone calls, and I sent. And here is the, not that one. Yep. This is the. Is it 0703? Is the 05?
Yeah, 703. Yeah.
So I sent that product, that PCM, to a very large electronics repair facility that makes parts for the big three. Right. Dead on arrival. No fixing. The chips aren't available. Yep. The stuff that's inside there, and if you guys have seen the gel and the stuff that's inside there, just the tech time alone to dig that stuff out, it's a long time. Yeah. On the old school stuff, we would be able to drill press, cut a hole in it, as you see, and change the processor, change a couple things, in and out within 24 hours. These guys, it's just like I said, like trying to repair Humpty Dumpty.
Yeah. Which they never said was an egg, by the way. What's actually kind of cool is that doing, I'm going to show my age here a little bit with jobber pricing. We used to have the GM computers, and we have to get you have to take your old chip out of the one GM computer and put it in the new one. Again, talking about old school here, when vacuum lines ruled the world. It's so. Those days are obviously long gone. There is none of that anymore. Like you're saying, it's all with that gel coat and everything. Actually, kind of very funny story. My YJ, I had a little bit of an issue. As soon as it got out of, is it closed loop or open loop when it takes information in from the sensors?
No, closed loop.
Okay. The Jeep would not run. It would stumble, and I'm like, well, what's going on here? So my stepdad came down. He's a 30-year master tech. And, I came from the car stereo days, installing car stereos. And my dad always said, stop drilling into things. You're going to drill into something important one day. Well, this Jeep I bought used, and it had been through the ringer by 1,000 units with 1,000 different radios. And we started cleaning everything off. He's like, well, let's just take the PCM. Let's just, clean the PCM connections. So we take the computer off, and as we pull the computer off the firewall, there was a drywall screw sticking. And there was a hole in the computer. Yep. And my dad looks at me and goes, well, you stop. It wasn't me. It was the previous owner. But it still ran with the screw computer.
That just means it didn't hit that particular circuit. Something.
It reminds me of a story we had on an 05 Jeep Wrangler. A customer there was installing a stereo and put a screw right through the computer. And at that point, that computer was about $1,500 for a manual setup. Yeah. And we got it with a hole right through it. And I was like, there's your problem.
Well, we fixed all the ground connection computers, put it back, ran like a top. Don't know what I did wrong. Maybe it was a screw. I don't know. But it ran like a top till I sold it. But so be careful where you drill, folks. That's the point of my story. Yeah. So you guys got started being in the PCM business. So you guys are down in South Florida. So how long have you been a company like Wranglerfix? How long has that been a business, for lack of better terms?
Well, we started the company just over the last year.
Cool.
And,
cool. Somebody's newer than we are.
Exactly. So how did you get to know Mark, Andrew? I mean, did you just kind of stumble? You guys work at the same spot, or?
Yes, we actually did work at the same company for years. I was working there prior, probably about 3 or 4 years, and Mark came in for sales. And once he got into the business, he learned a lot about. Obviously, what I focus on is Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep, because it's a big failure in the community.
Right.
You know, obviously other ones follow after, like Chevy and Ford, but your main is Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep. And Jeep being such a big industry in the computers, and they fail so much, becomes a hot commodity for anybody who's driving a Jeep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
well,
what
it's
we
not like we
specialize
treat
in.
our Jeeps so gently and carefully and polish them before. Well, some people do.
Well, yeah. It's effectively dragging your Dell Tower down a dirt road and going, hey, still work. Come on, work.
Yep. Yeah. So Mark came in there and started making sales, and he was like a number one salesman, especially when it came to Cummins and diesels. And ever since then, I've been in the business since I was 15 years old, and I'm going on 29 now, so I've been doing computers almost a long time, and I focus mainly on trying to fix people's problems in Jeeps.
Okay.
For example, you have 05 and 06 Jeep Wranglers,
Yep.
and there's a lot that follow along behind that, whether it's the 90s models or 2000s. They're just all failure, and you can't get them nowhere.
Yeah.
It depends what it is. You know, some of them come easily, some don't come easily. It just all comes down to
I laugh. He's the computer version of me. I'm the guy who they all call when it's points and ignition and coils.
Yeah.
and
they got the technical questions and get lost. So it's like, all right, start checking this, check that. If you ain't got this, you should have that.
You should have a little fun one day.
Yeah.
You know what you should do when they say, hey, I'm having a problem. Okay, have you tried hitting the any key? Just tell them it's behind the glove box somewhere.
Yeah. So check the blinker fluid, right?
Exactly. No. Eye drops are blinker fluid, technically.
We do have a lot of fun, by the way, especially when I get calls from people. My check engine light is on. I wouldn't worry about that. That's just a bulb telling you whether or not it's good.
Did you check it?
Yeah, the engine's still there.
That's Stephen Wright, not Mark Cantrell, by the way, but it's still a funny line.
So TJ's got you guys in the business. So do you do any other vehicle than the 2005, 2006 TJ? Like, you have any plans for the future for different models, different years, like the XJ, stuff like that?
Yes, we've already updated our site. We're going from 97 through 19.
Wow.
Cool.
We've amassed in a very short time a very good sources for some of the best components, some of the best, and we don't have 70,000 parts in stock like some of these other people, but we do have a small company that's devoted to fixing electronic issues.
Cool.
And
Well, and today that's the heart and soul of most vehicles out there, you know.
Yeah.
And as I tell folks, most of the computer fix that I have to do to help folks with is very simple. It's a busted ground wire. Because funny, they don't work well if you lose the ground. So,
Get you grounded in reality.
I've actually had a lot of customers come by with JKs recently where it's not charging their Jeep anymore, and it's been computer failures.
Yeah, because the computer actually controls the field current on the alternator now. It's no longer a mechanical feedback. It's
I've
ECM.
probably had 3 of those in the last 2 months come in.
Yeah, I saw your on your Facebook page where someone talked about that, and you brought up, hey, check your PCM, probably got a dud. Speaking of checking PCMs and duds, so basically, if you don't see it on your website, go ahead and contact you guys. And as you stated in your video on your YouTube page, you don't have bots. It's really you at 3 a.m. watching old Rush videos on your computer, Mark, so that way you can see and go, hey, yeah, I'm really. So if you get a message, it's Mark probably sitting there with a bowl of ice cream, going, yeah, what you need, man? I'm here.
It's really me. I go to sleep late, wake up early.
Okay. Well, let's start off a little bit on the technical side again. What's the average Jeeper who owns an 05 or 06? What are the symptoms they should be keeping an eye out for?
Well, the main symptoms with the automatics are the 0700 failures, which are on the transmission side.
Okay.
1602, 3, and 4 on the ECM side. The hard shift is very common. There's a tranny temperature overheat where the transmission temperature will go from normal to up to 3,000 to -2.
We've
all
seen
in a
that.
matter
Yes,
of
we
We
have.
have seen
We have a
that.
close
Yeah.
friend of the show, Brian.
And he also had several shops try to talk him into a transmission overhaul.
those The amount of customers that I have spoken to that have bought 42 RLE rebuilds that
don't need it,
never fix their problem. They reset the PCM and then get down the road and they comes back with the same issue.
Right. And I'll say this to our listeners, folks. I know that the computer will tell you 3,000 degrees, but I hate to tell you that's above the melting point of aluminum.
And
so if you don't have a silver puddle under your Jeep of melted aluminum, it's probably a computer issue and not the transmission.
Well, as Johnny Mathis said, chances are
it's the PCM.
So
at that point, if they just have a concern or suspicion, they can email you or call you, go to your website?
Absolutely. I'm always a click or a call away. We work morning, noon, and night. We're a small company. But we devote ourselves to customer service.
Now, that's to the end customer. How about a shop like Mark's here? He can contact you as well? If
Absolutely.
He's got okay.
Absolutely. We on all the other Wrangler years besides the 05, 06s, those units are repairable, and we can repair them at a substantial savings in most cases.
Okay.
But on these guys, yes, shops can call and order our products, of course. We do.
And they can find out pricing information on your website or from you, which...
no, all the pricing is on there.
Okay. We don't talk about it on the website, listeners, because podcasts are forever.
Exactly.
But our listeners know that, I hope, because as I tell folks, no, we don't want to stick you with an advertising, faux pas. So,
Kevin and I always talk about reaching out to vendors and suppliers and communicating with them, telling them what your needs are, what your problems are, and opening that door of relationship. Thank you, communication. So the one thing, like you said, you're a small business, and we kind of talked, and I'm in the parts world, and I know people are in a hurry, you're stressful, the Jeep's down, it's your only driver. Take a few minutes and be patient. Like you said, you're a small business, and sometimes it takes a few extra minutes to 45 minutes to maybe a couple hours to do the research to get back with you, because you are showing the same customer service to somebody else that you're going to show this person. So be a little more patient and understand that, and give you that benefit of the doubt that you're working on it. Is that a fair assessment?
And
Yes.
he's talking to you, listeners, not necessarily to the guy who's trying to sell it to you over here, who's looking at us attentively.
I'm talking with my hands again.
He is. I keep telling you, they can't see the hands unless they are a Patreon.
We're gonna. I got 20 minutes into this and I was able to talk. My first faux pas.
Oh, that's true.
I'm leaving
that in the video.
I know. We're going to go ahead and leave this we're going to make this public for everyone to see.
Yes, we are.
Because we want to give Mark, no relation. I've always wanted to say that. Now I can. The proper credit due, because again, thank you again, Mark, for hosting us, and Mark for your time, because you guys drove 5 hours to come see us.
Yeah, we got in at 12:30 last night. We're okay. But getting back to customer service, and when it comes right down to it, I worked for a Fortune 500 company for a number of years, and at my old employer, I was told I was a friend of the working man, because I truly take an interest in people's problems.
Right.
And when you can provide a product that solves someone else's problems, it helps you get what you want, and it's a great feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I'm truly humbled and blessed to be able to say that.
That's cool.
Thank you.
And I'm really excited, though, to have an answer, a solid fix, not a patch for the 05, 06 issue, because, this is the thing that can kill a series on a Jeep from having a long-term legacy. If it can't be fixed, it's a brick. And I'd much rather have, my 05 live on. Yeah. It's my second 05. You've got an 06, although you have the unicorn out there with a stick, so you only have 3 ports.
Speaking of which, can you do computers for the stick shifts one yet? Or are you still working on those?
On the manuals?
05 manuals?
Yeah, on the manuals, the failures on those are not as common, but there's the symptoms are very common. It's low RPMs, very low RPMs, and then you're just driving along and it dies. Just out of nowhere.
I know what to look for.
It dies.
Besides looking at the gas gauge going, okay, I remember to get gas. Okay.
That is a telltale sign of a manual PCM.
So, Kevin, I can promise you will probably be the first or the second phone call, because either you or Mark are going to be going, help. I broke it.
I'm pretty sure that I'll be the first call, because Mark's not coming out here with a truck and trailer.
Yeah, fair enough.
come for you. Burns Steakhouse is pretty good.
I think.
Wow, there goes the podcast budget.
Oh, sorry. I can't say that. Sorry.
Oh, you can. You can.
Kill him.
Kill him.
Sorry.
So, anything else you specifically would like to add? Is there any tips that people can know about? As far as taking care of their Jeep in the PCM world, is there anything they need to?
Computer maintenance.
Well, in any Dodge Chrysler Jeep, if you've ever owned one and not had ECM problems, you just haven't owned it long enough. and I say that with all due respect. And I'll go back. I'm not naming any names, but my former employer, I told him to build a statue of Lee Iacocca in the front of his office.
Because he was keeping.
And that's a true story. PCMs do not like heat, and they do not like vibration. And where the 05s and 06s are, right there on the...
Can we throw water in the mix? Because
Sure.
it's hanging out on the firewall.
Absolutely.
Let's see.
Or drywall screws.
I could probably make, margaritas shaken, not stirred, by just resting them on the hood of my Jeep at idle. I could probably fry the bacon.
Easy there, Bond.
And I want to make it clear, I'm not hating on any Dodge Chrysler Jeep product. I own.
No.
I own two.
Yeah.
So don't start sending me hate mail.
No, you're not going to hate the person that pays your power bill.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, we're going to take a quick little break to reset, and we shall be back here momentarily. Hey, Jeepers and Jeepettes, this is Scott from the On the Trail podcast again to remind you guys that today's show is actually going to be brought to you by the Tampa Jeep Lab and Wranglerfix.com. Make sure to check out the websites, Facebook pages. I think Mark is now panicking, going, I don't have a Facebook page yet, but I think they're going to work on it. Marc Lawson definitely has a Facebook page. Check him out, anything local Tampa. And also remember to check out the 4x4 Radio Network. Thank you, Mr. Kevin. I almost forgot that for a second. Tony and the guys over there can handle all your off-roading needs. And so with that, we are going to jump back into the mayhem that is me trying to speak. And welcome back. Hey, so thank you guys for sitting on that little commercial. But so basically, the future of the company a little bit. Where do you plan to see this? Is there an upswing in growth? I mean, you talked about the Jeep Gears and Gadgets. They broke ground with the website. Was it Jeep Gears and Gadgets? Am I getting that right?
Yes.
They broke with your video, and you guys have been going gangbusters ever since.
Yes.
So not to put any pressure, this is heard worldwide, and California is one of our biggest states, and
a lot of Jeeps out there.
A lot of Jeeps out there. So on that note, brace yourself, because like Neil Peart did, the Limelight song. I mean, there's a chance this may happen.
Living in the limelight.
Exactly.
I can't sing.
The future of the company.
The future of the company.
Wait a second. How did I just get lost in limelight? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's a moment of silence from Mr. Peart.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, the future of the company is we're working on many different projects right now, not just for the 0506 TJs.
Right.
We have a couple of very serious, actually the hardest Jeep part to get right now is 04 TCMs.
Okay.
And I believe, if I remember correctly, it's a 764 Alpha. We're working on that. And 03 ECMs, we're working on getting those together.
Okay.
In addition to that, we do a full line, not just Wranglers. It's just the Wrangler that put us on the map.
Right.
Going back to, I know what your question was now, I'm sorry.
Future of the company.
Jeep's Gadgets and Gears with, I would like to thank them, Cassie and Ben, for giving us that recognition.
There you go.
But the way we really got our name out there is there was a guy who did a video on the problem, but not the solution.
Gotcha.
And his original video got 30,000 hits, Ozstar. Thank you, Glenn. And he took one of our PCMs and walked through about a 25-minute very detailed, you would like it, video, and it gave us internet credibility, and by the forum, one PCM at a time, one testimonial at a time, it's built us into where we are today.
Cool.
And we have no intentions of going anywhere, just expanding our line and still being able to provide the type of customer service that you guys are used to.
Right. Well, good. Well, just out of curiosity, when we talk about cradle to grave, you call with the problem, you get the PCM. What are the most common faux pas or improper installations that a customer or someone just curious and trying to figure out their own problems they can do to not damage the ECM when they put it in? Obviously you disconnect your battery cables. Obviously with the JL, disconnect both sets of battery cables. Anything that people should be on the lookout when they purchase a PCM?
No, just follow the instructions. They're usually all of our units are plug and play.
Okay.
So specifically on the 05, it's 3 Torx bolts or an 8 millimeter. Out. I recommend using some contact cleaner to spray the connectors,
Pins,
and four plugs back in, 3 Torx bolts, and it's down the road you go.
Cool.
Okay. Now, I do know, and we didn't touch on it earlier, but I want to come back to this on the technical side. That's my shtick. So, you have some limitations on your replacement PCMs that you told me about when we were on the line, and that was for folks that have highly modified the engines in their Jeeps to the point that they have used a programmer or some kind of modification, that your PCM cannot accept that modification. Is that correct?
Yes. With the programmers and the super chips and superchargers and stuff like that, it will not accept it because it is not the OEM part, and those parts are designed for the OEM part. So it's basically like a fix on top of a fix, and it won't work.
So in other words, in computer speak, the address where the information is being changed is no longer the same place in the memory.
The designers of the programmers wrote it to work for exactly that OEM part.
For that OEM part with that chipset, with that. So folks, you're out of luck.
I've tried.
I don't want to say we're out of luck. We can make it happen. We just don't like to offer it because we don't want to get into a headache. But if they really already have a programmer that they'd invested their money into, and us being, an owner, and if we had put our money into it, we want to make it work, they could.
So they should at least contact you and chat. And if it's within your scope and within their budget.
And if they're willing to maybe talk and figure something out.
A lot of people don't, they're like, I want to do it myself first. And I'm like, I understand, but they'll never figure it out, and they'll either kill the computer in the process and be sitting there with a no start.
I got you.
I wouldn't be happy with that.
All right. Any other limitations that you can think of that way? Is that pretty much it? Now your PCM, when you guys flash it for the 0506, I assume it's the normal operating parameters. So if your mod did not change the programming with the original ECM, your computer would work for them.
Correct.
Okay. That's important to a lot of listeners, because my Jeep is only slightly altered, as we know. But to that end, sorry, touched the wrong wire. Zap. But it still runs the stock PCM. So I'm within the normal O2 parameters, ignition advance, all those kinds of things. So in that situation, if my knock on wood, was to fail, I could come to you guys for a replacement PCM.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because that's one of the important things that our listeners would need to know. You know, and most of us do run the stock PCM. It's just there is a small group out there running the superchargers, turbochargers, the boost kits, the strokers that have had the retunes done, and all those kinds of things, guys. You're pushing it already, so.
Yeah. I had a guy on one of the forums that just kept pushing me. You're not being transparent. Tell me why. And
well, folks, I just told you why. So if you're listening on this one, you can. It looks the same on the outside, but they got a different board. It's got different components. It's been reflashed. They've made the logic changes to make it work in that computer. It'd be like taking a chip that was designed for a Windows computer and trying to plug it into, an Apple Mac.
Well, that's why you get this $1,000 snap-on hammer and make it fit.
You do that, Scott. I'll go get the trailer.
That snap-on hammer.
Well, I do have to buy line, because again, parts is my wheelhouse. It's what I've known, and to help people understand. And I guess I'm closing my eyes because I'm concentrating on talking. Is that the companies and businesses and installers like Marc Lawson, right, or Lawson?
Lawson.
They get paid to install and sell parts. It is 2019. If you have a 2005 Jeep, if it could work in your application, they would sell it to you that way. You know, they want to make money. Because, again, money rules the world practically. So if they don't offer it, don't just automatically assume, oh, it's the same. No. You know, I see that all the time. You know, just recently, a 2019 car, they had a 2020, and they didn't offer the accessory for 2019. Well, the 2018 is going to be the same. No, it's not. It's a completely... No, you're wrong. Okay. All right. It's 2020. The catalog's been out for a year. You're right. You know, I ordered the part. It doesn't fit. Duh. So just take time, and like you said, be forthright, be honest with you guys or anybody, even your installer or even the person. Take that time again, like we talked about communication, very important, because again, maybe they can find a way, maybe you can work something out. Maybe if you're willing to have time and money invested, maybe you could be a test mule. I mean, I'm just guessing. I'm not answering for you or Andrew, but the idea is that just be forthright with information, I guess.
So. And to follow along that, Scott, I laugh. If somebody has that logic, there's a lot of the same looking PCMs in the junkyards. And you can get them out of just about any Chrysler vehicle. And I guarantee you can plug them in and they'll plug in. And you know what? Nothing's going to work. And you might as well consider you probably just toasted your BCM computer. You probably toasted a few other components. But just because it fits doesn't mean it's right.
You just reminded me of something. Kind of where I was going with this is that, you guys being in the Chrysler computer business, you know that Chrysler has this funny thing with superseded part numbers. And so if you're looking for the same part number in the junkyard that's yours, good luck, because that part number has probably superseded 400 times. When I ordered a computer just recently for a JK with a lightning strike, there were 9 supersessions. It started at AE or AA and ended up being AD or whatever 9 letters from that is. I don't know. I'm not good with math or spelling.
The alphabet.
But the numbers.
Or speaking.
And I'm looking at... Thanks, Kevin. And I'm looking all the way down my screen as a supersession list going, are any of them in stock? Okay, so I sat there for a half hour checking every part number in the national locator to try and find a computer.
Isn't the last number just the number of updates it's had?
The numbers and the letters are, for example, if they originally came out with an AA, and for example, an engineer, say they have O2 sensor codes, if an engineer can go write the O2 sensor codes out of the actual software program, we'll write them out, and I'm going to make the software AB now. So anybody who's having this problem, come in, go to your local dealer, they'll update your computer, it'll write the code out. Once it writes the code out, you got no check engine light, you're a happy camper again.
Yeah,
Then they'll run into another problem again. Engineers will write the software out, and they'll update the software again to an AC.
Oh, okay.
So that's how they write the data, supposedly, on it.
The higher that letter, the more updates. The number, I'm sorry, the higher the number.
It's, again, if you have a Windows computer, you guys know you get the software updates. Or your iPhone. What iOS are you out on?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. So, Chrysler did the same thing with the software on the PCMs.
Every iOS is about the same as frequency as the new Droid coming out.
Yeah, they don't have much of a choice, because when you're running such a big problem, especially being a Jeep Wrangler owner or something, what are you going to do? Make a new computer and
sell them a $2,000 part or $3,000 part.
Do a recall on it, and you can't. So you pay an engineer to go and fix it, and that's why, for example, they couldn't do that on an 05 or 06 Jeep Wrangler neither, because the engineers, they can build the product, but they can't fix it.
Gotcha.
So.
I like how we have both engineers on that side of the table, so if there's bloodshed...
Yeah, I guess a little deep.
Yeah, that's fine.
All the power tools are on this side, right, Mark?
Yep.
Good.
Joking said, engineers, all we need is the power between the ears, and we can usually wreak havoc. It's just delayed.
And those poor parts guys are the one that get the wrath from the technician. It won't fit. Well, did you try your $1,000 Snap-on?
Please, if you're from Snap-on, Scott's just using it as a moniker.
Have you stepped in a Snap-on truck?
I have.
Okay, then you know I am not far off.
He drives by here every now and then, and I just wave and say, keep going. Keep going.
Oh, you've seen the joke, right? The Snap-on truck's driver's broken and said I'd fix it for $53 for the next 1,000 weeks.
For the next 1,000 weeks.
Oh, you're going to get us sued yet.
So, sorry, Napson. There you go. The Napson truck. So much for that sponsor. So with that said, you guys got any questions, comments, concerns, things you'd like to get out there, personal messages to your audience? Because, again, this is your guys' show.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, all of you, for having us. We greatly appreciate it. And when I started this venture, I never ever thought it would be sitting here right now, and I'm very grateful for each and every one of you. PCM by PCM, we've built a reputation, and we continue to build that reputation. And again, I'm just very grateful and thankful, and to be able to help so many people.
Yeah.
And
snaps just fired in the brain. One thing you mentioned earlier before we were recording is the PCMs are not brand new because there's certain laws or whatever. You can't be brand new PCM. So what is that something you want to talk about, or you want to keep?
No, of course. The PCM that we use is an OEM PCM that most mimics the 0506 TJ.
Okay.
And it is not a brand new unit. It is a unit that will perform all the functions of the
original
OEM part. It comes with our software.
Right.
It is not able to be updated by the dealer. The dealer will offer no support, no flashes, or anything whatsoever. If you take it to the dealer, you will throw the PCM into La La Land. Don't do that.
So if they have an issue, contact you or Andrew for tech support, basically.
Absolutely.
But it will read regular OBD2 stats. You can plug in a scanner and read information. They just can't upload a program because, again, like we said, the memory has been shifted around and that kind of stuff.
Now, what if you use like in the wife's Jeep, the JK? We just use the Super Chips Trail Dash for mainly as the codes and to set the gear ratio. Your PCMs will not work with that, or will work with that? Because I don't mess with the parameters like the fuel.
On that particular year, no, but the newer models, yes.
Okay. Darn, I got that strange middle year again.
Well, you do, but that's an important thing to remind them if you're contacting them about a PCM and you're using something. Oh, it's not a program. I'm just adjusting gear ratio. Well, you need to make sure and make that very clear. I assume you guys could probably set a gear ratio for them. You know?
It all depends on what it is. Usually, a lot of them comes back to where it just sees it. It's usually done through the sensor.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Anything? Last parting words, comments? Just no? Well, I want to say thank you both for coming out here and being on the show. This is awesome, getting this news out to our listenership. I do get, from my end, I get a lot of emails on the 0506 because they know I have one and somehow managed to beat my way through the computer issues. I did it the hard way. It's nice to be able to report and bring some news that there is a little more straightforward way to talk to somebody who's taken it and made it their mission to address the 0506 ECM issues, or PCM, sorry. Powertrain control.
Exactly.
Right. So, I got the ECM, the TCM, the PCM, the BCM, the alphabet soup.
And the GEM module if you're a Ford.
Yeah.
Andrew knows what I'm talking about.
Very tough one for people.
That's a General Electric module.
Gotcha.
Not the company. Or generic, whatever you want to say. So with that, guys, remember, Wranglerfix.com. Check them out. Also, Tampa Jeep Lab on the Facebook. Do you have a website yet, Mark?
No website.
Oh, okay.
Just social media.
Just social media. Check those guys out. Any other social medias or anything like that? Or an email direct to you guys?
It's Mark at Wranglerfix.com. I'm always a click or a call away. And
you
any
have a
questions?
Facebook page?
Excuse me?
You have a Facebook page?
I do not.
You may want to consider that because we're finding a tremendous amount of businesses being brought in through the Facebook advertisements. So just a suggestion.
And these guys will answer your questions because before we were setting up all the gears, they were answering questions to their customers.
You mentioned the forum a couple of times. There's a lot of great pages where people even ask me, and I think we talked a little bit about some of the other companies that I've used. Definitely learned a lot from you guys today, and I'll be recommending you guys as well. So it'd be really easy to respond with your Facebook page, and they'll direct contact to you. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes. All right.
I can't just begin to thank the forums enough. When I first started this, I got a call from a guy in Texas when I first started, and he calls me up. He says, it's the first time on a Friday afternoon that I'm actually drinking a beer. He says, your PCM works. But the bottom line, Chase, thank you. The bottom line is he had 12 or 14 0506s that had PCM problems.
Oh, my.
Wow. Oh, geez.
Oh, yeah. So he just kept calling and kept calling. And then he calls me one day and he says, do you know who Mr. Blaine is?
Oh.
And I said, nope.
I do indeed.
I do now. And he says, oh, well, he just recommended you guys, or he just said Wranglerfix seems to have a handle on the situation. And that particular week, I sold almost 50 PCMs.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
And Blaine is he is an awesome Jeep guy, and the master of the Black Magic brakes. For those that don't know, check him out.
Right there.
Chapstick. We keep it close. This is the best chapstick I've ever had.
If you
Thanks,
look in the
Blaine.
background on any of the video shot in our studio, you'll see his little wizard banner back there. And
because you run his brake pads.
I run his brake pads. I'm on my second set. I even had a set of the brakes rotors custom cut for my locking hub so that I could run his pads on it. So, because folks, this one's just pure personal experience. You hit the brakes on the on Slightly Altered, and boy, she hauls down like nobody's business with factory calipers and factory master cylinders. So.
Good way to find all the loose change.
Yeah, we're just thanks to Mr. Blaine, he just sent us a pair, so we're installing them this weekend.
Oh,
you're
you'll
gonna
love
love
them. You'll love them. Just
forward
follow
to
the
it.
break-in procedure. He makes a big deal over that for a good reason. That they will hot print if you don't do that, and you'll be stuck with the rest of the way. So.
Sweet. Well,
Personal experience.
With that, I think it's time we lock some hose. What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah, put her in 4-low and get ready to go hit the trail.
And make sure to take nothing but pictures, memories, and your trash when you leave the trail. Got it right.
It's the first show in 6 that you got it right. So again, thanks to our guests, and Jeeples, thanks to you for listening. And we'll check us out on the next show, show 87.
There you go. And remember to check it out, Wranglerfix.com and Marc Lawson, the Tampa Jeep Lab.
All righty. Bye.
Proceeding has been provided for entertainment only. Proper service and repair procedures are vital to the safe, reliable operation of all motor vehicles, as well as personal safety of those performing those repairs. Standard safety procedures and precaution, including the use of safety goggles and proper tools and equipment, should be followed at all times to eliminate the possibility of personal injury or improper service which could damage the vehicle or compromise its safety.
What he said. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. You guys have a great day.
Bye.
This has been a Bent Axle Media production.